Well, welcome back to another episode of The Grace Between Us. We are at episode number 49.
Almost 50.
Almost 50.
Woo.
We're getting up there in age. I'm Pastor Nathan Hurst. This is Pastor
Lori.
And
You forgot my name.
I didn't forget her name. I wanted her to speak for herself. Well, today we're actually going to talk about a difficult topic, something that came up in the news yesterday because of a tragedy that happened in Texas. And we're going to talk about the idea of guns in church, not Christians and guns, not, supporting this legislation or that legislation, but literally guns in the church facility because it is something that's in the news. Yeah. So stick with us. We'll be back here in just a minute. Welcome back to another episode of The Grace Between Us. And again, today we're talking about the idea of guns in church and what that means for our communities, what that means for the community in general. Church is supposed to be a safe space.
Yeah, unfortunately, yesterday we saw another church shooting, and unfortunately, one person was killed, and two others were injured.
No, actually, there were 3 people killed, 2 from the congregation, 1 was the actual gunman.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 2. Yeah, I got my numbers a little bit mixed up. But
so
however,
we got a message in our private messaging board between our elders because someone saw the report and thought it looked like our church.
Yeah.
And so they saw the colors of the, and when we're remodeling, so things won't stay those colors, but, they saw it.
Yeah, it hit home because it was very, kind of similar setting.
Could have easily been our church, honestly, by the look and feel of some of the things that were going on there. And so roughly there was 260 people in attendance. There were 3 congregants were shot. 2 of them were unfortunately killed, and 1 was critically wounded. And it's a frustrating thing to see in church, a place that's supposed to be a safe space, right? We're supposed to be able to come to church, gather together, congregate together, love one another, love our community, and not have to worry about acts of violence. There were, at the time of the shooting, there were at least 5 people in that church that drew a firearm on this individual. In fact, it happened in less than 6 seconds. So 2 people died in less than 6 seconds. That's not enough time to call the police. Like, I'm not for vigilante justice, but that's not enough time to call the police and hope they make it there. And if this individual was packing the right weapon with the right amount of ammunition, could have killed everyone in there easily. Easily. I mean, you're talking locked doors.
It's crazy. You got a live feed of a church service, and you can see someone walking in, black head to toe, and all of a sudden 2 people in 6 seconds are gone.
Yep.
And in a place where it's supposed to be safe, a place where families are, a place where,
there's
children,
there's babies hanging around, there's moms and dads,
elderly people,
grandparents.
There's people who are coming to worship, and there should be no threat. Absolutely no threat.
There should be no threat at all. And the frustrating part to me is we're having this debate now of, well, if we take guns out of all these spaces, then no one's going to get hurt. Listen, if we had taken guns, the thing is, Texas passed a law not too long ago allowing people to conceal carry in places of worship rather than taking them out of places of worship.
Yeah.
Well, that law likely saved lives.
Yeah,
like legitimately saved lives.
At least 5 people in that congregation were actually carrying.
Yeah.
So
individuals. We knew those 5 people drew guns. We don't know how many people were actually carrying.
Okay.
We know that at least 5 people put a gun on this person. They had pulled the gun out of their holsters. They had pulled the gun out of their pocket, their concealed carry areas, and they were drawing their weapons on this individual. The individual who actually shot the assailant was an ex-FBI officer, so he was very well trained, and he knew what to do in a scenario like this, and pulled the gun quickly and took the target out very quickly. Yeah. And it's one of the saddest things to see happen, but it's also something we need to talk about, safety. Yep. We have a safety team here, and yes, they're carrying weapons. Not all of them, not all of the time. Well, someone's carrying a weapon all the time. You're not going to know exactly who that person is. And then there are people in the church who are carrying that you don't know that they're carrying. We know the people who need to know.
That's why they call it concealed carry.
That's right. That's why it's called concealed carry. You don't know who's packing or when, and we're not going to tell you when we are either. The point is that we need to keep our congregation safe.
Yeah, we have our security teams. I know oftentimes you see people roaming, the halls, and that's who those people are most of the time. And oftentimes it feels like they're not doing anything. Right?
Yeah.
It feels like they're just walking around. But you know what? We have to have people. You have to have people looking out to be aware of situations because of something like this.
Because it's unfortunately
it's never expected.
Unfortunately, because evil is real and people will go to great lengths to hurt people when they're hurt.
Yep.
See, the old adage is very true. Hurt people hurt people.
Yep.
And unfortunately, sometimes very hurt people hurt very aggressively.
Right.
And I have no doubt that this person needed some type of reconciliation and healing. Now, they're dead now. They're not going to get that opportunity here on this earth. And I hope that in some last second effort in their life, or maybe at some point in their life, they had the opportunity to ask Jesus to be a part of their heart. They could have committed a great act of violence in this tremendous atrocity and still go to heaven, yes, because God is merciful and he's gracious to us even when we do stupid things that hurt other people. I don't know the mental state of this person, so I'm not going to pass judgment of where they may or may not be in this afterlife. I'm not going to do that. However, I do know that we need to take it on ourselves to be, well, to create an environment of safety. In fact, Jesus' words in Luke chapter 22, verse 35 through 38, he talks to his disciples and he talks about the fact that he's not going to be around forever. And he actually talks to them about carrying weapons. Now, you think that's kind of crazy because later on he says, put your swords away. It's not time for that. And go ahead and read that for me, if you will, and we'll go from there.
And he, Jesus Christ, said to them, his 12 disciples, when I sent you on training missions without money bag, knapsack, and sandals, did you lack anything? But now he who has no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one, for the things concerning me have an end.
Keep going there.
So they, the disciples, said, Lord, look, here are 2 swords. And he said to them, it is enough.
So it's funny, if you read that just plain language, you think, okay, Jesus said 2 swords among 12 guys was enough, right? That's not what he said. Remember, rabbinical teaching, very sarcastic in nature. You can talk about the different rabbinical ways that Jesus would have taught that was sarcastic. How long must I suffer you unbelievers? It's only a wicked and perverse generation that looks for a sign, or even sent to his own mother when they ran out of wine in his first miracle. What's this have to do with me? My time hasn't come. What's this got to do? And then he goes ahead and does the miracle anyway and provides for the party. So one of the things we can look at is when Jesus says, yeah, that's enough. Yeah, that's kind of a sarcastic undertone. Like, come on, guys, there's 12 of you. And I just told you if you don't have a sword, sell your garments and go buy one. And he wasn't telling them to go and buy military weapons to overthrow government. That's not what this is about. But this is about the idea that the gospel needed to go forth and people needed to be protected in providing for the gospel. Now, Jesus did say that we're blessed if we're persecuted for the gospel's sake. And he does talk about, at length, turning the other cheek. What he doesn't talk about, and I don't think he gives credence to, is being senselessly slaughtered because someone has either an agenda, or they have mental illness, or there's some other issue going on, or allowing other people, innocent, and lives to be taken just because we're supposed to be pacifists. I don't think that's what Jesus was saying. And in fact, alluding to the idea that, listen, my time, there's an end coming to my time here on earth, and you had all this provision while I was with you. Well, I'm going to be with you till the end of the age, except it might be a little harder when I'm not around. So because of that, I want to give you the strength you need in any situation. Now, again, if you read that scripture differently, go ahead. That's how we read it, and we put that in full force with our security team, that we're not here to start a fight.
Nope.
That we're not here to mark anybody out, to tell them that they're not worthy of their experience here in the church. We're not doing anything like that. We're here to protect people, protect innocence, so that the gospel can continue to be preached. I will say this, it is a warning to people, though. I think the church needs to get better at this. In fact, I'm trying to find out a way to do this. I think our security team should wear shirts with the big Punisher skull on them, right? So we mean business. Maybe that's too far. I don't know. I'll find out later. So I'm sure somebody will correct me. But I think we need to come to a place in church where we're not ashamed to say, listen, we're going to protect.
We're going to protect ourselves.
We're going to protect innocence.
We're going to protect our own.
Yes.
This is our family. We're going to
Yes.
take care of them.
Yes. I wouldn't let a gunman walk into my house and start shooting it up without protecting my family.
No.
And you best believe that Doberman starts barking, I'm going to start looking. And she'll get you before I do.
Yeah.
But the point is, we need to really understand that we live in a fallen world. We live in a broken state. And unfortunately, the laws sometimes make provision for there to be places where there are no firearms and people feel that they can walk in and just promote acts of violence. And I'm not saying we need to arm people to the teeth. Like, that's not even the point of it. The point of it is that there should be a way and means in which we can protect ourselves.
Yeah, and
which save lives in this
so that
scenario.
other people know, hey, these people aren't just going to roll over.
That's right.
I'm not going to have my moment of glory and show everybody how hurt I am.
Yes.
That's not what they're thinking. But
and if it were for the gospel's sake, like, honestly, if we were being persecuted for the gospel's sake, that's different. Like, Jesus talks about that. That's different, But if we're in the pulpit and we're preaching, and again, it's not a doctrinal thing. It's not about Jesus. It's just a random act of violence, or it's just someone with a mental issue. I'm honestly saying, I think we have the right to defend ourselves in that scenario. And we have the responsibility to defend the innocence of the community.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think too many people look at this and think, well, what's the church's response? The church's response is it's terrible. It should never happen.
Right.
The church's response, there's real evil in the world. By the way, a gun has never killed a person ever.
No.
Right? The gun itself has never done anything. You put a gun loaded in your house, and if you don't touch it, it ain't going to just go off by accident. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Now, the reality is there are people behind every single moment of hurt. What also happened last week was a stabbing at a rabbi's house in New York. I forgot to tell you about this. Yeah. And I think he stabbed like 5 people. And it was a massive issue where we have this rabbi just having community with his people, and an act of anti-Semitism, and people are stabbed, right? I mean,
it's so ridiculous.
Mortally as well. And again, the weapon of choice was different, but it was still an act of violence against people worshiping and communing together. So I think we have a responsibility as an organization as a community of believers to protect ourselves. Now,
it should be widely known.
It should, yes.
If you go into a church, you better not expect to do much, because they're going to protect themselves.
They're going to protect themselves.
They're going to know what's going on.
Yep.
Some random person walks in like that, we're going to know what you're doing. And if you try anything, done.
Well, and the thing is, we have to balance it out from, people need to know that we're going to protect ourselves, as balancing that out with, okay, but we don't want people looking for a gunfight.
No,
right. There's a balance there. And I'm not sure I know exactly how to pinpoint that, but we will protect ourselves and we will protect innocence. And more than that, it is protecting innocence, right? It's protecting the people who are coming there just to listen and to love and to learn. It's protecting the children there who have no part in anything, because they're so very innocent. And so we need to allow ourselves that provision to protect innocence. When we first started the church, I didn't have to think about this. No. We didn't think about it at all.
Not at all.
We had a small security team that was basically, hey, if something happens, you need to talk to this person. Right. Then things got a little more crazy, and we had a security person actually have to deal with an issue and restrain a person who was drunk and very belligerent, and bring them outside and have the cops come and take care of everything, and restraining orders and all kinds of stuff were put into place. And I had no idea it happened. Our security team was so good. I saw some guy arguing. Next thing I know, he's gone. I just keep on preaching, and boom, they just fixed it all, right?
But it's a real thing, There's people, and people are dealing with issues, and unfortunately, at some point in time, that is required, and we have to take those measures. But it's all in taking care of our own.
And we have to have people that are trained well. Listen, don't just come into church thinking you're going to shoot up the town if something happens. That's not the responsible thing. We have gentlemen on our team who are military trained. These guys know what they're doing. We have other gentlemen who are carrying that are very well equipped to handle the weapons that they carry, and they're very well equipped to use them well. And we're thankful that it's not just gunslingers, man, because that's not the point. No. In fact, every one of these individuals that I could name, they don't want to ever have to think about pulling the trigger. Never. One of them is an EMT as well. I know that he knows exactly the devastation that can be caused by some of these bullets.
And we're so thankful for them.
Oh my gosh, we are.
Every week they come ready, prepared to take care of us and to watch and keep us safe. Keep
the kids safe, keep us safe, keep the community safe. So we're thankful for that. But is there a place for guns in church? Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to allow for that space. It's not something I wanted to do. In fact, even with our last insurance carrier, we didn't have a policy set up where we covered this, because I thought, this is craziness. We don't need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now we have provision in our insurance. Like, that's how far this has gone. We have provision on our insurance so that people can carry. weapons.
Right.
It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. It's a sad day, but it is reality. So I think we need to leave with one, yes, and this is definitive from me. You can take it any way you want to, but yes, churches need to be responsible for protecting innocence of their community. So yes, we need to carry. I think all churches everywhere, and if your state has some kind of crazy law that doesn't allow you to, I'm not going to tell you to break the law, but I might be bending it a whole lot. And the second thing there is we need to come to a place where we learn how to love so deeply, so affectionately, that people don't even think about this, that they know they can come to the church and they can be well received, and that honestly, that they can come and that they can be accepted, and no matter what they're going through, that they can feel that they have a place to belong.
That's right.
And
I hate these conversations.
I know, it's
I
not
really
fun.
do. I really do.
It's just weighty,
it just
right?
It makes me upset.
Well,
We didn't have the situations, but I mean, it's
There-
nothing new.
no.
That's the other thing. It's nothing new.
No, I
This
mean,
has been-
let's be honest. There were churches broken into and burned down in the South for years and years and years and years, particularly in the African American community, and the travesties that happened there. And they weren't even allowed to protect themselves. And it's totally different. I can't even get into that. I want to make a statement. I'll make a statement, and some of you aren't gonna like it. But all gun control is racist. Go look at the South and how they use gun control to push down African American people. You will learn that all gun control is very racist. Anyway, that's a different topic for a different day. Maybe a little bit of a tangent. You and I can talk about it maybe on a DM sometime or whatever. You can call me or whatever. But the point is that we need to be able to protect ourselves. Secondly, or thirdly, pray for the families that are affected.
Yeah.
There are 2 families right now who have lost loved ones. There's a third family who's trying to deal with the idea that what happened to this person, what would cause them to go nuts.
Why would they do this?
Why would they do this?
Why would they want to hurt people?
Yes, and I'm sure this family is a good, well-meaning family, yet, well, I don't know for sure. I hope they are. Yet there's someone in their family decided to take a very negative turn. Also, there's a gentleman who had to pull the trigger. I don't know if he ever had to pull the trigger as an FBI agent. Hopefully he had a desk job and he never had to do that. But he was well-trained, well-armed, and knew exactly what to do in that scenario.
Saved so many lives.
Saved so many lives. But he's going to have to deal with pulling that trigger for the rest of his life. That's something that doesn't go away. No. If you're a law officer, you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever had to pull that trigger, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It never goes away. You remember the face, you remember the smell, you remember the sights, you remember the sounds, you remember everything forever and ever and ever. It doesn't just go away. He needs healing as well. There's a community of people who lost loved ones in a church. They need to be healed. There's a tragedy that happened in their place of worship. That place of worship is now stained with a tragedy. That place of worship needs to be healed.
Right.
Listen, there's so much healing that needs to go on. Please pray for these people. Reach out to them. If you have any way or means of doing that, let them know you're on their side. I think that's one of the best things we can do. But you know what? Other than that, we need to move forward and know that God's will be accomplished here on planet Earth. There are going to be oppressive spirits try to come against the gospel, but we're going to move on. We're going to move forward. We know what we're called to. Spread this gospel to the farthest reaching ends of the world.
Yeah. Well, the Bible says that the gates of hell will not prevail against the church.
That's
and
right.
So we have that promise to stand on.
Yep. And that's the only thing where Jesus said that gates of hell itself won't prevail. The church itself. Why would you want to be anywhere else?
Yep. Well, we love you guys. Sorry it was such a kind of somber subject, but
Kinda heavy.
it's something that we have to talk about as a church. It's
That's
something
right.
that we have to have a stance on. It's something we need to think about.
And not just because it's in the news. We need to
No.
talk about it because it's real safety and it means real
Yeah.
people and real lives hang in the balance.
Yep. And if you're a pastor, if you have questions about things like that, let us know. We've got quite a few measures in place, and our security team has got some really good plans. So
Yeah.
definitely let us know if you have any questions or whatnot regarding that. But we
Yep.
love you guys. Thank you for listening today, and we will be back later on this week.
Later on, with another
but
episode.
Make sure you look us up on all the socials. We got Instagram, Facebook. You look for the social, we're on
We're
there.
on there.
The Grace
At the
Between
Grace-
Us.
at the Grace
At
Between
the
Us.
Grace Between Us.
At the Grace Between Us, you'll find us there. All right, we hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season and new year. And man, we're excited for 2020.
Yes, we are.
We'll see you
All
then.
right, bye-bye.
Bye.